we will manage to be in a position to understand through lessons learned, essentially through things and concepts and case studies that we have seen across the world, how we can actually make better decisions for buildings and cities. And we would be, I think, in a position to make better user experience for everyone. And this will take time.
As urban environments continue to evolve, the integration of technology into our cities and buildings is changing the way we experience and interact with our surroundings. Smart cities and smart buildings represent the next frontier in creating spaces that are more responsive to the needs of their inhabitants. These advancements promise to enhance the quality of life by optimizing energy use, improving connectivity, and fostering more resilience and adaptability. However, the path towards realizing the full potential of smart cities and buildings is complex, involving a delicate balance between innovation and practicality. Critical issues that are shaping this transformation, from the challenges of interoperability and data management to the overarching vision of what the future holds for our increasingly connected world, are present before, during, and after the implementation of any technology that is to integrate seamlessly with our surroundings. So, we need to chat with someone who can iron out some of these issues and help us create a cohesive urban environment. Just before we meet our guest today, it's important to say that the video quality of this episode isn't fantastic. There's a few pauses in there, but the audio quality is spot on. So sit back, relax, close your eyes, and give it a watch. Georgios Grigoriou is the principal consultant in building system integration and digital twin graph technologies, specializing in strategy, design, delivery, and intelligence of energy efficiency and smart buildings. George is leading and coordinating the digital readiness, data acquisition, and analytics activities driving innovative, data driven solutions for sustainable and holistically efficient environments at Arcadis. Committed to sustainability and better quality of life, George strives to positively impact people, places, and the planet. He's also been shortlisted for the Best Digital Engineer Award in 2022 and 2023, and is a committee member, digital media manager, for the CIBSE Intelligence Buildings Group, where he leads initiatives relating to ontologies. George, welcome to the podcast. And did I miss anything off that introduction?
Peter, it's great to be in the podcast, and thanks for the introduction. It was great. You didn't miss anything at all.
Fantastic. One thing I noticed about your introduction as I was going through it is that you don't do short titles or short awards, or you're not a member of anything that's short. There's about 7 or 8 words to everything you do.
Yeah, I think it's due to the multidisciplinary approach that I have to take on my job and day-to-day activities.
Yeah.
So as a result of my work, I'm combining a lot of things from different areas: engineering, analytics, strategy, in order to help clients in the built environment and cities. So yeah, it's true. All of my roles and names are quite long, but hopefully people can understand, what I can do. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's get into this, because I think it'll be really, really interesting. As cities strive to become more sustainable, energy efficient, and digitally advanced, the integration of smart buildings within a cohesive urban environment becomes crucial to this. According to the UN Environment Programme, buildings use about 40% global energy, 25% water, and 40% of other global resources. With this in mind, can you explain, or let's dig a little deeper into the role smart buildings play into our evolving landscape?
So great question, and it's something that is really the challenge that a lot of cities have at the moment. So we actually into an era of digitalization, of advanced technologies,
Mm.
and essentially smart buildings play a crucial role in that. So reducing the consumption, whether that is energy, water, waste, and at the same time providing a better user experience for people. And it's challenging because we are actually talking about smart buildings, but we need actually to realize that a lot of times smart buildings are actually more leaning towards new buildings.
Mm.
And when we are actually when we have to consider that 80% of the building stock uh, is already there and will be here in 2050, it actually creates a challenge, I would say. Not necessarily how smart buildings actually contribute to a smarter city, because they definitely do, but we are at the stage where these smart buildings are like small pockets within cities.
Mm.
So to answer your question, I feel that smart buildings definitely play a role in developing a smarter and better city for people, places, and the planet. But at the same time, the challenge is how we can actually make the existing stock that we have
Mm.
better, I would say,
Yeah.
because a lot of buildings that we have at the moment um, don't really have the infrastructure in place to be considered smart.
Okay. So with the work that you do then, is most of that focused on current building stock? Because all I see with newsletters and information and
Mm.
online is contractors winning big awards to build new things in the mainly.
Yeah.
But like you said, most of what we've got is current. It's already built and it needs some form of retrofitting. So is most of your role focused on the current buildings, or is it a split between current and new?
I would say the latter. So I'm actually involved heavily in the design of new buildings. So we support clients across all of the different RIBA stages, from
Mhm.
design even up to commissioning and operation, trying to incorporate all of these smart requirements into the design specification, and then assure the delivery, I would say. So we're working a lot with contractors and system integrators to make that happen.
Mhm.
But there's also a lot of work, as you said, in retrofitting. So we're going actually to existing buildings and try to understand how we can actually make them better for the people who use the buildings. A lot of times we're actually facing buildings where there are legacy systems, and people really want actually to have a better user experience within it, because yeah, we need actually to reduce energy, but at the same time we need to maintain or even make it better, the user experience within a building. So we actually support clients in both areas, using technology, using I would say the power that and the techniques and the tools that we can actually get from data and from digital twins, and how we can essentially use all of this information and tools and techniques in order to drive impact. What we really care throughout our work is to have to provide tangible impact, and as the motto of the company is, a better quality of life for both cases, both the existing buildings but also the new buildings.
It's really interesting that you say that, because on previous episodes, and it'll happen in later episodes, we always focus on the technology, the driving force, the thing that's new and will improve things. And it's so easy for most people to forget that it's the people that we need to remember that we're doing this for. But most people will focus on what that technology does rather than what the inhabitants need, which I find fascinating.
Yeah, we always try to focus on people, and what we actually provide as, I would say, approach is people centric. So as part of our job, what we always trying to get across to our clients is the fact that we don't need to jump into tech straight away. We actually have to spend some time and understand the use cases of the building, how the client, how the people, different stakeholders, from the facility manager to the head of operations, all of the different stakeholders, how they would like actually to use the building, trying to understand the different user journeys, I would say, on this, and really trying to essentially make the user journey that they have on a day-to-day basis in the building better. And this, I think, is a very important information, whether we're talking about buildings or cities, defining the use cases, the user journey of each persona, and then try to get this need and translate it into specifications, and use the tools in order to really enhance and support that. Because what is happening a lot of times in buildings, I think, in decades ago, was that we were really focusing even on the how we'll design the systems, what are the best way to do that in terms of systems efficiency, but we also need to consider the people who will use the building. So yeah, this is I think a fundamental piece which I think everyone really needs to consider in a pragmatic way in order to really provide the tangible impact that I was talking previously.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving the conversation on a little bit, it's not without its challenges, these things, and it's estimated that by 2045, 7 out of 10 people will inhabit cities, and as buildings and cities become smarter, the sheer volume of data being generated, processed, and stored is going to increase exponentially. This data is critical for optimizing energy use, improving efficiency, and enhancing the user experience, which we were just talking about. However, with this digital transformation comes the pressing issue of data privacy and security, protecting sensitive information while maintaining the functionality of a smart system, smart city, smart building. So, where do we go from here? How do we get this balance between making sure it's functional and whatever we create is there for the inhabitants and the users, but also maintaining their privacy and security?
This is a great question. I think we really need to have a policy framework around the way that we are using and utilize data. I think there has been already a lot of efforts, in Europe, but also, in other parts of the world, to really trying to actually understand how to frame these policies from building level to cities level. I would say we're still at a very early stage, because there was also the AI that is being accelerating quite significantly, and I think this is also a driver to make the policies more robust because they see the challenges and potential threats associated with that. So we need, I think, to make sure that we have the right policy framework in place, which is important at a building and city level. A lot of people, for example, have a policy frameworks around, the IT infrastructure, but there is also the OT infrastructure now in buildings. Now that we're actually trying to, and even in cities, when we're actually trying to make everything connected, okay, to different platforms, we really need actually to think seriously about cybersecurity policy frameworks for operational technology. I think this is one piece. And the other piece that is really important, I think, is data governance. So we need actually to understand how we will really, govern, the data and information that is being generated. We have a plethora of data, and we really need to put a governance framework as well around that. So I feel it's really important. I personally believe that because of this emergence of mega cities and having a lot of people coming into these mega cities, there's also the challenge of physical infrastructure, which I think we will actually manage to deal with. There's a challenge of how we'll actually deal with all of this data. We see that there are data centers being designed and developed all over the world. So I think that we will be in a position to deal with the physical and data infrastructure, if you wish, but I feel we really need to ensure that we have the right cybersecurity policy framework in place. We understand how we can actually govern the data. Okay. And another thing that I think it's really important is essentially the maturity that we have as human beings with these concepts, because we use our mobile phones, we use different apps, and in a way we train ourselves on a day-to-day basis on this and familiarize ourselves with the apps and how to use them. But I think there needs to be socialization and awareness from different bodies and cities and countries on these concepts of that cybersecurity and data governance. So yeah, policy frameworks together with awareness in these concepts is really really important, I think.
Yeah, it's no easy task. It's global at the end of the day, and that poses its own challenges, really. I think something that's linked quite heavily to this is the interoperability that we can achieve, or the difficulty in achieving this. What I mean by that, for anybody that doesn't know, but this is about different tech talking to each other and working together, essentially. And there's some reports saying that most IoTs, Internet of Things, the devices and sensors, they can be insecure and they can have non-standard protocols and they can run out of data, particularly when we're talking about a huge amount of data. However, achieving true interoperability presents huge opportunities, particularly in the large cities, mega cities, as we move towards those, which we've spoken about. A number of opportunities and benefits, reducing energy consumption being one. Can you talk us through how we achieve interoperability and the challenges of getting to that stage?
This is a big area, I think, of in the built environment, but also for cities. It's something that we always trying to address and embrace when we're actually designing buildings. As a principle, we trying to coordinate activities and ensure that we have open protocols. So the ability of, as you said,
Mm,
having technologies and systems talk to each other. I think that's really important because we don't want uh, different systems or different pockets of data to be in a way locked. A lot of people actually see the sensitivity of it, which obviously needs to be addressed, but at the same time, when you do have something that is not when you haven't enabled, I would say, or you cannot enable interoperability, in a way you're also locked in your own um, bubble, I would
mhm,
say. So in order to achieve that, I think everyone needs to embrace the fact that systems and different tech needs to talk to each other. They need actually to, I think I'll allow that to happen. We were seeing in the past that a lot of people actually, especially vendors who were providing, for example, IoT sensors, or even platforms that didn't really strategize on how to provide the data
mm,
and provide interoperability. So I think this is changing a lot, and I see that across the whole building life cycle, I would say. I mean, people now, for example, talk more and more about Beam software development. I mean, Beam was an area where it was really difficult to get the data from different models, different
mm,
Beam models, but now this is changing. Okay, and we see more and more um, companies really embrace the synergy of getting the data from
yeah,
one platform to another. Okay, um, I just feel again that there is the interoperability also means that people have the ability and the appetite actually to use different tools as well. Again, I think the digital maturity plays an important role, and
mm,
I think one of the requirements in order to make that happen is essentially to embrace the fact that we are going from an era where we had people who were doing software development, building code from scratch, I would say. But now, because of all of the tools that we have available, we're talking about the persona of citizen developer. We're talking about people who are engineers, who are sociologists, who are that don't necessarily have to study, I would say, data science or software development in order to use these tools, in order to understand the interoperability concepts. So I think this maturity that is being increased, more and more, will actually support also the interoperability to happen. Because again,
mm.
even if the tools build the interoperability um, plugins and methods to do it, um, people will use it at the end of the day. So we need to make sure that people are informed and know to an extent, how to do that and make it happen.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there that I think if we take a step back 10 or so
Mhm.
years ago, that wasn't the case, and it was very much you keep your data and it's secure and private, and there is no interoperability, there is no connectivity with other apps, with other software. And fast forward to today, and I think it's seen as a negative if there is no API or any way to connect. Um, but that leads me on to something slightly different but hugely connected, and that's the sheer amount of data that we're collecting. So we know it's a powerful tool for making huge decisions, as well as optimization. Um, but the speed of which the data is generated is increasing exponentially, and to change that into actionable knowledge is critical for maintaining the momentum that we need for innovation and pushing forward. In your opinion, are we heading towards maybe a tipping point where we simply have too much data, or is the processing power, our knowledge of how to manipulate that data, and the data itself, are they aligned with the growth that we're seeing?
Well, I think that the tools are there. We have now, yeah, we live in the world of data. It's a situation where, yeah, as you're saying, we have so much data coming from buildings and cities, and it's a different approach. So the interesting thing that I found about it was 30, 40, 50 years ago, when we didn't have all of this data,
Mm,
people really had to go, for example, and before the phase where internet was established and more or less everyone was using the internet where they could. Everyone had to actually to go to a library and find the right information in order to do things. So we were in a situation where you had essentially a smaller data set or a group of books and information to uh, help you take actionable insights. Now, after all of these 40, 50 years, coming to 2024, in this era, we have essentially a plethora of data, so you can find everything you need, on the internet. You can even study nowadays, just by having access to the internet. And instead of finding the information now, you have all of these, plethora of information out there, and you need actually to understand what is more important for you. So I think what it is required now is a more collaborative approach where you have on the table a lot of different, I would say, subject matter experts. So, when talking, for example, about buildings and trying to take actionable insights, what I always like to do is sitting on a table with the FM engineer, with the head of operations, and we come as subject matter experts all together to talk about problems from different perspectives, because this would really allow us, in the end, to take actionable insights, I think. So it's really important to get, in other words, on their own, the right people to actually select based on the needs what data need to be used. Because, I mean, depending on the goals, not necessarily all of the data we have might be important,
mhm.
but at the same time, we need to be in a position to select which data can be useful for us. So I think the fact that we have the accessibility to the data is great now, but at the same time, that means that we need to put the right thought and strategy into it in a collaborative manner to make that happen.
Yeah, yeah, very, very well put. I think when it comes to data, it's easy to get sucked into that thought process of
Mm.
the more data we have, the better, which is correct to an extent. But then, as you rightly put it, some information is not necessary to make certain decisions. So you don't need that data for this particular thing. You focus
Yeah,
on what you need.
yeah. And to add to that, one of the things that I actually discovered throughout my career, because I started as a mechanical engineer, and then I actually had the privilege to see and work in the energy analytics space and fault detection diagnostics. So I think it is very important for people to understand the different concepts and tools. Again, as I said, before, the digital maturity, because in that way, when you actually want to add your domain expertise into the equation, okay, you can really help driving this tangible impact that I was talking about. A lot of times, what I'm actually saying to my team and people is, we need, for example, data analysts and people to help us with their domain expertise in the data analytics space. But at the
Mm.
same time, engineers, whether that's in buildings and cities, need to actually come and really interpret, the data and support the whole process moving forward. So yeah, I
Sure.
think this is quite important.
So, final topical area, looking to the future then. We're always looking to push boundaries of what's possible. It's essential to consider whether there is an ultimate end goal or if
Mm.
the potential for innovation is just truly limitless, as the evolution of smart buildings and their role in shaping our future cities just carries on and on and builds in momentum. Exploring whether there is a final destination or if we'll see continuous improvement is a fascinating area to discuss, hence, it's the final topic. In your view, is there an ultimate end point for the development of smart cities and buildings? Or is the nature of all of this simply continuous innovation and improvements?
I think we are actually going to. I think to answer your question directly, I think there's a continuous improvement and innovation to it. Definitely, I personally feel that there will be more and more establishment of technology and artificial intelligence and the use of data-driven approaches in the design and construction industry for buildings, but also for how the cities are being designed, redesigned,
Mm,
and developed. Um, there will be more maturity of the uh, the societies on how they can really leverage the power of smart buildings and smart cities. I think we will see more and more cities become having smarter buildings. I think we will manage to be in a position to understand through lessons learned, essentially through things and concepts and case studies that we have seen across the world, how we can actually make better decisions for our buildings and cities. I would say, and we would be, I think, in a position to make a better user experience for everyone. And this will take time, I would
mhm,
say, because people really need actually to get used of this. I would say, in a way, behavioral change, because even as engineer, when I'm actually thinking, we as engineers are trained to actually use and approach things in a heuristic way. Now we're actually using data-driven approaches. So there's also behavioral change involved in there, where we actually need to adapt. But I think the most important thing is to not forget that all of these, in my point of view, are tools that enable people to have a better user experience. So
mhm,
I think we always need to remind ourselves that at the end of the day, all of these approaches need to help our needs being met in a better way holistically. So not just about
mm.
energy, about carbon, but also about the social value of it, how we can actually make buildings and cities more comfortable and affordable for people, but also for a net positive future.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I suppose with changing societal needs comes the change of the technology or utilization of that technology to do various things. Um,
Yeah,
Georgios, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been absolute pleasure and really interesting talking to you and getting inside your wonderful brain and getting all that knowledge out into the world. Thank you so much.
Peter, thank you.